Welcome to Lesson 10, Creating Images for the Web and Application Design. Whether you're creating something that's going to appear in a browser or in an application, you're going to want to create the images pretty much the same way. Now, a couple things. I have an image open and I'm selecting image size. And the reason I'm doing that is because when you're creating things for web or for application design, everything is pretty much based upon pixel size. So let's say that you're building an application that is going to be 800 pixels wide. Well, if you want something that's going to be 25% of that, then of course you would just make it 200 pixels. It doesn't matter what the resolution is. The pixels are all that matters because there's only so many pixels on the screen. Now let's say that I'm creating this for the web and I'm making something that is 960 pixels wide and I want something that's much smaller. Well then, of course, I can go all the way down 150, and when I click OK, before I do that, I want to make sure that I've got bicubic sharper for reduction selected so that it sharpens the edges a bit for me, and I click OK. When you resize something, of course, it's going to appear much smaller. You can double-click on the zoom tool to bring something up to the actual size. Now let me just go over a couple other things. When you choose to save this for a different format, you can choose Save for Web. And depending upon the content, you'll want to save it in a different file format. Now up at the top here, I can see the original, just the optimized, 2-up or 4-up. I'm going to leave this at 2-up. Here's my original, and here's my PNG 24 because that happens to be the last preset that I selected. Typically, depending upon what you're saving, you would use one of the popular formats, and that would be JPEG or PNG. There is a use also for GIF, but GIF is used a lot less now. If I were to select something like, for instance, JPEG, you'd see that the transparency on my original disappears because JPEG does not support transparency. You also see down here that my file size is relatively small as compared to 137K in the original. It's now only about 9K. Now, if I switch this to a PNG 24, which supports a nice smooth gradation of colors, you'll see that PNG does support the transparency, but then you also see that my file size is dramatically increased. So depending upon the file size and the final visual that you want, you might have to play with these settings a bit. If I do decide I want to go with GIF, I'll switch to the preset over here. I'm going to select GIF, but I don't want the dither. The dither is kind of like a pixelated effect that appears when you don't have enough colors. You'll see that I can bring this into a GIF, and in this particular image it works okay because it's small enough. But I can also come in here and I can increase the color or decrease the colors if I need to reduce the file size even more. So you'll notice that if I bring the colors down to 8, the file size is down to 3K, but the image definitely suffers. I'm going to go back up to 64. It seems the best format for this particular file would probably be a JPEG because it's a relatively small file size, and JPEGs do support that nice smooth gradation that we need from one color to another. GIFs generally are great for logos and solid colors, and PNGs are perfect for pretty much everything, but they're big in file size. So unless you're doing something where you have the luxury of being able to have larger file sizes, then you want to stay away from PNG. So I'm selecting JPEG, but I want to make this look like it's transparent, and perhaps it's going on a background color. You can fake transparency with JPEG by clicking on matte. And if you select matte, you can choose the color that you're using. And maybe in this case, I have a blue, or I can even enter a value into this section down here, a hexadecimal value. But I'm going to click OK, and you'll see it puts the color in for me. And in fact, when I preview by clicking down on the preview button, you'll see that when it opens up in the browser, it provides a preview of how that is going to look if it's on a browser window that has that background color or an application that has that background color. Once you're done, you can select Save, choose where you want to put this file, give it a name. I'm just going to call this Shake. It's a PNG, and click Save. And then I go back to my original file. So in this video, you learned a little bit about saving your files for the web or for building applications.